They tell you to work hard, get an education, and show up every day, and you'll be fine. But the data says something different. I want to talk to you about something that the data has been showing for years. I went through the own government's data, the Central Statistics Unit, the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago, the Consumer Price Index going back 30 years. And I built out what life actually costs at 5 different income levels in this country. And what I found is not a gap. It's a canyon, and it's getting wider every single year. There are 2 Trinidads. In one, people are booking flights to Miami, eating out 3 nights a week, sending their kids to private school, and complaining about traffic on their way to the golf course. In the other, people are choosing between electricity and groceries, working 2 jobs, doing everything right, and still falling behind every single month. Same country, same flag, same currency. Different economies entirely. Today I'm going to show you 5 budgets, 5 real lives, and the data behind every single one of them. Marcia works full-time, Monday to Friday, 8 hours a day, a retail cashier in San Fernando. At the national minimum wage of $20.50 per hour, last updated in January 2024, a full-time worker brings home roughly $3,553 before any deductions. After NIS contributions and health surcharge, Marcia clears roughly $3,200 per month. 4 increases in 14 years, that's the full history of the national minimum wage in Trinidad and Tobago. Now let's look at what $3,200 actually buys you in this country in 2026. A 1-bedroom in Lavantil or Mover, that's about $2,200. This is not an unreasonable rent for that area. 1 bedroom, possibly a shared yard, obviously an older building, $2,200. And that's already 69% of Marcia's entire take-home pay. The moment she pays rent, she has $1,000 left. For everything, that's for the entire month. Maxi taxi to work and back, 22 working days, both ways, that's $660 right there. Marcia cannot afford a car. The Maxi is not a choice, it's the only option. $660 per month just to get to work. Not to go anywhere else, just to work. Groceries, market basics. No imported goods, no brand names. $1,500. Food prices in Trinidad and Tobago has risen 50% since 2015. Oils and cooking fat went up 58.9%. Bread and cereal went up 36.2%. Meat went up 36.4%. The things that makes up Marcia's grocery basket, the cheap things, the local things, those things went up the most. $1,500 in groceries today buys what roughly $1,000 bought her in 2015. She's feeding her family on a 2015 budget while paying 2026 prices. Utilities, lights and water. It's about $400. Water and electricity have stayed relatively flat because of government subsidies. This is one of the few lines that has not destroyed her, but these subsidies are not guaranteed forever. She has to pay her phone bill. That's about $150 per month. Not a smartphone plan, a prepaid plan. Enough to communicate with her children, school, her landlord, her employer, the bare minimum. That's the math. She earns $3,200 for the month and she needs $4,900 to survive. Every single month, before anything unexpected happens, Marcia is $1,700 short. That does not include school supplies, medications, a haircut, transport for her children, 1 pair of shoes, a dentist, a birthday, anything. So how does Marcia survive? She borrows from her family, she skips, she goes without. She runs a tab at the parlor. There's no saving, there's no plan B. One unexpected expense, a sick child, a broken appliance, a mischief, and Marcia is in debt. And here's what makes this worse. The minimum wage was frozen from January 2019 to January 2024. 5 years, no increase. While general inflation rose 14.3%, while food inflation rose 29.6%, while price of cooking oil went up over 40%. Nobody voted on that pay cut. Nobody announced it. It happened quietly in the gap between the price of bread and the numbers on our payslip. How many Marcias in Trinidad and Tobago are there? The CSO data shows approximately 86,000 people in Trinidad and Tobago earn under $3,000 per month. That's not a marginal group. That's a sector in the society. She is not an exception, she's a statistic. Before we move up the ladder, I want to stop at a number that most people skip over. Because $5,000 per month is not a made-up number. It is literally the median wage in Trinidad and Tobago. Half of all workers who reported income to the CSO earn less than this. Half earn more. So what does life look right in the middle? Meet Tricia. Tricia works in the public sector. She's an administrative officer in a government ministry. She earns $5,800 gross per month, slightly above the median, after small increments over the years. After NIS contributions and health surcharge, she takes home around $5,000 to $5,400 per month. Tricia is not poor in the way Marcia is poor. She is not desperate. She is not counting coins at the checkout every week. But she is stuck. Completely and totally stuck. Rent. A one-bedroom in a safer area like Curep or El Dorado. That's about $2,800. Tricia pays a little more than Marcia because the area matters to her. She's a woman living alone and she wants something that feels secure. $2,800. That's 56% of her take-home pay, gone on the first of the month. Public transport to work, $500. Tricia is trying to save for a car. She has been trying for 3 years, but she cannot get there. Groceries, slightly better than Marcia, but still disciplined. She has to pay about $1,800 for groceries. Tricia can afford a few better items. A proper chicken, a packet of pasta. She shops carefully. Still no imports, still no treats. $1,800, and that requires planning every single week. Utilities, lights and water, that's about $450. Phone, a basic postpaid plan, that's about $200. Personal care, toiletries, hair care, basic clothing, average across the month, that's about $300. This is a line Marcia cannot afford at all. Tricia can, barely. $300 a month for the basic things a person needs to look presentable at work. Total expenses, that's about $6,050 for Tricia. Tricia earns $5,000. She needs $6,050. She is $1,050 short every single month. And yet, by every official measure, Tricia is doing fine. She's employed, she's in the public sector, she has a permanent job. She's above the poverty line. She does not qualify for most government assistance programs. The system looks at Tricia and sees stability. Tricia looks at her bank account and sees a trap. There's no savings. She has been telling herself she will start saving up when things ease up. Things have not eased up in 11 years. She cannot afford to get sick. She cannot afford to fix her roof when it leaks. She cannot afford her mother's medication some months, without choosing between that and groceries. She will never own a home on this income. To deposit a loan on a basic house in Central Trinidad would take her 7 years of saving every cent she earns. She has 0 cents to save. Now here's why Tricia's situation matters more than just her budget. The median monthly wage in Trinidad and Tobago has been $5,000 every single year, from 2015 to 2024. Not 5,100, not 5,200, flat. A full decade without movement at the median. While general prices rose 22.4%, while food prices rose 45.7%, while health costs rose 55.6%. In real terms, what that money actually buys, the typical Trinidadian worker lost 18.3% of their purchasing power in 1 decade. To have the same purchasing power as you did with $5,000 in 2014, you would now need to have $6,120. Tricia earns exactly the median, and the median worker is over $1,100 poorer in real terms than they were 10 years ago. She's not Marcia, she's not at the bottom, but she's not climbing either. She lives in the space between poverty and progress, too stable to be called poor, too broke to build anything at all. Tricia is not a sad story. Tricia is the most common story. She is the middle of this country, and the middle is going backwards. Now let's meet Kevin. Kevin earns around $11,000 take home. He's a mid-level manager at a bank. He has a university degree and normal 9 to 5. He worked his way here. He earns double what Tricia takes home, more than 3 times what Marcia earns. And he still is in the red every month. Rent, a 2-bedroom apartment in Shagona, Soarima. That's about $4,200 right there. Car payment plus insurance, $2,200. A used car and financing, he needs it. Without it, he cannot function. Fuel for the month, about $700. Grocery, he's a family of 2, so he has to pay about $2,500 in groceries to feed his kid. Utilities plus internet, about $800. Phone and extra lessons for his child, that's about $850 every month. Total expenses, $11,250. Kevin earns $11,000. He spends $11,250. He is $250 short. Before the card needs a service, before the dentist, before anything goes wrong. He has a car, he has a 2-bedroom. He looks like he has crossed the line. But the line keeps moving. Kevin is 1 job loss away from Tricia's situation. Tricia is 1 shock away from Marcia's. The distance between these 3 lives is shorter than anybody wants to admit. Meet Dominic. He earns around $16,000 take home. He's an oil sector worker, 20 years in the industry. By CSO data, fewer than 2.4% of people ever reach this level. His mortgage is $5,500, a 3-bedroom in Diego Martin. 1 car, full cost, about $3,500 per month. Groceries with some flexibility, $3,000. Utilities and internet, $900. He has to pay his phone bill, $300. Also, he has to pay for 2 sets of extra lessons and a sport for his child, so that's $800 per month. And then for personal spending and entertainment, let's budget about $1,000. In total, that's $15,000. Dominic has $1,000 left. It's not nothing. On a good month, he saves something small. Over years, maybe a deposit, maybe a small investment. For the first time in these 5 budgets, we're looking at someone who is not drowning. And imagine we had to go up to $16,000 per month to reach the first person who's not drowning. But look at what it took to get here. 20 years. Top 2.4% of all earners in this country. And the ceiling is $1,000 surplus per month. Dominic is not rich. Dominic is the ceiling, and he's still barely keeping his head above water. Now let's look at the top 1%. Above Dominic, there's another level that operates by completely different rules. The families behind the major conglomerates, the energy sector dynasties, household income starting at $300,000 per month and going significantly higher. For a waterfront residence, you might pay $25,000 to $40,000 per month. To maintain a vehicle fleet, about $15,000 to $20,000. 3 full-time domestic staff because you need a cleaner, you need a dog walker. Maybe you hire somebody to teach you how to play squash. A lot of rich people play squash, I don't know. Their salaries alone is more than 4 times what Marcia earns in a month. Private school for the 2 children, $15,000 to $20,000. Imported groceries because, God forbid, they buy from the local market. That's about $12,000 to $15,000. Dining and entertainment, $10,000 to $15,000. International travel in business class, average monthly, about $20,000 to $40,000 TT. Private healthcare and medical tourism, about 8,000 to 12,000. No public hospitals, are you crazy? Club memberships, private tutors, well management, let's round that up to about 18,000 to 28,000 per month. Total spend about $135,000 to $190,000 per month. And you're still left with a monthly surplus of over $100,000. And that's for somebody that's earning about $300,000 per month. There's people that's earning way more. That's at the bottom of the class. With that monthly surplus, you could go into property, you could put it into US dollars account, into offshore investments, compounding every single month. Their monthly surplus is more than Dominic earns in 6 months, more than Marcia earns in 3 years. And this isn't about making them a villain. This is what generational wealth looks like in a small Caribbean economy. But when you place Marcia's budget next to theirs, this is not a difference in income. This is a canyon. The divide between the 5 Trinidads is not random. 3 things in the government's own data explains it well. 70,000 jobs gone since 2014's peak. Employment fell from 636,000 to 566,000 between 2014 and 2024. And approximately 73,000 working age adults stopped looking for work entirely in the same period. Not unemployed, just gone. Some emigrated, some gave up. This is brain drain in official statistics. The petroleum sector lost nearly half its workforce in a decade. 21,300 jobs in 2014, 11,100 in 2024. Construction lost 36,300 jobs. That's 46,000 high-paying private sector professions gone in a decade. These were the jobs that gave Kevin's a path up and gave Tricia's a reason to stay. And from 2019 to 2024, the minimum wage did not move, while prices kept climbing. General inflation up 14.3%, food inflation up 29.6%, cooking oil up 40%. Marcia and everyone like her absorbed every cent of this through reduced purchasing power. The system handed them a pay cut and called it stability. And the government has the tools to fix this. Progressive taxation, real minimum wage reform, public services that work, affordable housing. But the people who benefit the most from the current structure have the most access to policymakers. And Marcia, Tricia, and Kevin are too exhausted from surviving to organize around it. At some point, they stop waiting and they just leave the country altogether. The median worker in Trinidad and Tobago earned $5,000 per month in 2015. They earned $5,000 per month in 2024. A decade, not $1 move. In real terms, they lost 18.3% of their purchasing power. The system gave them nothing and took 18 cents out of every dollar anyway. Marcia is not struggling because she made bad decisions. She's struggling because the minimum wage was frozen for 5 years, while food prices surged 30%. Tricia is not stuck because she lacks ambitions. She's a median worker and the median worker is going backward. Kevin is not failing because he's not working hard enough. He earned his way into a bracket that should feel stable. He is still short every single month. Dominic has reached the ceiling. Most workers will never touch, and the ceiling is barely above water. And the top 1% exists in a different economy entirely, one where the structure compounds the advantage every single month, whether they intended to or not. Until the structural conditions that keep the Marcias, the Tricias, the Kevins, and the Dominics drowning or just barely above water are changed, then the gap will continue growing. Because the data is clear. The question is whether the people with the power to change it are paying attention. All the data in this video came from government sources. The Central Statistical Unit, the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago, and also the Ministry of Labor. Every single number, and I'll leave all the sources in the description below if you want to check it out. This is what this channel is going to be about. The numbers, no opinions. Tell me in the comments, who do you relate to the most? Marcia, Tricia, Kevin, or Dominic? And what have the last 5 years actually felt for you?